for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. Once again, I'm here in my sacred circle that I created. I would have actually recorded this video a while ago, but unfortunately the streaming of events didn't make that possible. I went actually through a very difficult experience last week. It took a lot of toll physically on me, but it actually brought me a lot of new insights, as always is on my path of resurrecting through the old, the transgressed, the dark. And as you know, the only path of the Christ is through the shadow within the gateway of ascension into illumined light. So without stepping through and moving through those corridors of light, we are just basically preventing our human experience to ascend. And this is why we're here. Those of you who have been gathered and, anchoring into my videos for such a long time, this is it. Spirit always now says it's now or never. Things need to drastically shift, or it won't be good for people who are not physically making action steps. But in this video, it will be another long, extensive video. So please take your time, as you're going to be doing this sitting and this transmission here with me. Things take time, right, to escalate and elevate, but we also need the proper insight to lock into that experience of what in the old still holds us back. So this video will be a combination of many things. It will be a wider, again, illumined perspective of our family of light, and some things I want to give as a crucial explanation. I also made a drawing. I made a pivotal drawing actually last night about this hologram anchoring into our sphere of reality and the new realm, and the seed of illumined core of the planet, and the spiral of life taking this creation to the next step. I actually channeled information about this new realm yesterday. So because this is such a long, extensive topic, and I'm sorry there will be bugs because they keep on flying here around the camera, it won't be a perfect experience. It will be in the flow, it will be on the go. I hope there is no wind because I can't find my microphone at the moment. I'm sorry, I don't know where I put it. I misplaced it somewhere, but I did make notes because this will be quite a huge this video. They're saying to me it's not just a transmission, it's like a whole gateway. So be patient. If you want to watch it in steps, that's fine. But the key of this experience, it's not just a video, it's an experience, is understanding the importance, the dire need for illumined rebirth in order to physically ascend. And when I'm saying physically ascend, it's not just like the masters have been speaking about this in many sacred ancient teachings, right, and moving into the rainbow body, and it's like many souls who've been creating this experience for the first time and their own history of their soul evolution. But this will be much deeper into also the stellar origin, and what my family always says, the keys are written in the stars. And it's not just history of what people call the tracing back the lineage of the soul, but it's also knowing our stories and what shaped us before coming on earth. For those of you who are star-born beings, who are celestials in a way, and we had experiences in these realms, and today my family of light wants to address this first. So I want to go step by step through my notes, because otherwise I don't think I'm going to make it through this video. So this transmission will be, of course, the physical organic ascension gateway and what still needs to be addressed. And as you know, people are finding themselves at different levels. But for example, someone who's meant to ascend in this life, and they're not going to have any further lifetimes within the hologram, because this reality is splitting and the 3D reality will remain in the hologram. And those of you who feel that this is not your desire, you have woken up enough. It's not now enough just to wake up to this state of the quo reality, but people now need to start receiving illumined awakenings and illumined rebirth. So last year, remember, I made a set of videos, illumined mission work. It was a set of videos in which I didn't just work alone, but I worked together with one of my celestial members, right? And we were working together. We did a lot of channeling. She's gotten a lot of vision. I had my insight, as always, as Aurea, seeing things very clearly. So this is kind of like a continuation of that. Many things we've already seen before, but those of you who haven't watched that, there's a whole playlist. Just go on my channel and check that out, okay? Lumen Mission playlist. So this entire work that I've been doing as a direct descendant of Aurea, and you have to know, Lumen light beings, we're not ascending, we're actually descending into these realms that still require our illumined impulse of life to gather the summary of the souls or family members who are meant to ascend, and hence the vision I've talked about that I had years ago with the Divine Mother coming and reaching and standing that magenta fuchsia, like just the color I'm wearing today, this ray of divine love, and showing me that there's only these few, these select ones that are going to ascend in this lifetime, and that's where our focus is supposed to be. And this doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or at fault for those who are not choosing this path. And you have to really see that some final illusions still keeping us bound to this realm have to deal with letting go of these souls. And I want to explain the difference today between organic realms and non-organic realms and souls and light beings, because some people still don't understand that's not the same thing. And I've stopped using even the word soul, because for me an ensoulment is a different process than incarnation. That's a direct embodiment of an illumined light being or a stellar being. And with this story, this saga of dark distortion and inception, a lot of people don't know why this all took place. It's because many great light beings who once held great positions, they were, for example, warriors. And I need to tell you something about the Illumined Realm where I come from. It's not so much so that the masculine's in charge like it is in this realm, but in our organic Elven realm, the queen is the feminine who holds the queen's central position, and then there's masculine warriors who are gathered around her, and divine servants and healers, and all this accompanying creatrix design that is illumined in its nature. In the fallen realms or the fallen worlds, this is the opposite, and that's why the feminine is always a concept. It's not just a concept, but the essence of life that is distorted, not just in one way, but all the layers, right? So I want to again extend to you that my work, or our work, because it's not just me doing it. Remember, years ago when I was still not living in the Alps, I was once wondering what this is all about, why I feel so deeply, and I couldn't understand it. And they said to me, because where you come from, we are a we. It's not like an I, but we are a we. And it's the celestial group consciousness through which we do all of our lumen work, right? Including what we had to do in this realm, in this world, and for the salvation of many chosen ones who've chosen to liberate themselves, elevate their physical human experience, and ascend eventually. So it's not enough to say, I want to ascend, I desire to ascend. There's actually physical and inner planes work steps that have to be taken to assure that position of your ascension. So the liberation work for our family, our celestial family, as we were doing it, is directly in relation to what I want to share with you in those Illumined Mission videos about our celestial family tree, and how Aurea, as me, my higher being, there's a family tree, and we wanted to bring back those distortions that were fallen aspects that were sucked into the darkness through many different distorted experiences and inceptions and falsifications of who those beings are who belong to the family tree. So this family tree dynamic was the biggest and most important thing, and it has to do with being angels or celestials. So at this point, you know, when I was doing this work, I do a lot of work that's general, you know, and I've been sharing, for example, more devotional teachings or Patreon. I've been doing general dispensation work for liberation here throughout the years. But there's a much more specific mission plan that I have as Aurea with my family, who are very specific beings who I resonate with through pure love. And I'm not saying I don't have this love for all of life, because when you do, and it's truly immaculate, it is for all life. But there's a specific way of harmonic resonance between you and that other who are a part of that family tree. And you will see throughout this video how the family is all-encompassingly now stressing out the importance of a family reunion. This is what they're saying now, the last key crucial step of ascension. And there will be, I just saw this title somewhere online, and it was the final battle, and I thought, yes, of course, because a lot of us have done the inner work, but there's still work to do in coming together, and us coming together in these unions and family positions within our tree. And specifically, I'm talking about these starborn beings and the celestials. I'm not talking about souls that I'm going to be explaining the difference in this subsequent chapter, right? So point number one taken. So there is a difference between souls who are evolving sparks that are created as the sense of light beings. So when God created, God first created a family tree of firstborns. These were complete angelic essences in its own, and they were given the gift of creation by God, through God, and respecting divine Trinity, which is divine law of creation. And through that, they were able to create offspring. So eventually, through their division, and it's just a process of how much you will see a cell, right, dividing. They created aspects of themselves, which eventually became soul. They became these sparks, and each of these sparks had also an illumined seed of life written within them in their design, but they were not yet fully perfected illumined light beings. So through their process of growth and evolution and maturity in their spiritual progress, they would eventually also have the chance to have their first ascension. And ascension is literally a movement from the essence of the soul and rising of the soul's flame into a fully perfected light body form, which is what many ancients thought, right? But what I'm talking about now, from my perspective throughout the years, is many of those beings who are already illumined light beings, or they're already starborn beings, and they've been having, well, these lifetimes on earth. Sorry about the bug. And these lifetimes made them forget. It made them to forget who they truly are. And that was my calling out to them throughout these years. And those beings who always come back for my videos, who always yearn for this expression and what I have to share. It's not just the knowledge component of it, but it's the essence that we shared. And there's only very specific few beings that I would call my direct family, because there's a direct family and then there's an extended family. And these beings are very close also personally in my life, and I know who these beings are. And as a result of who we are, some of us, we've been damaged, attacked the most, more than any ordinary, would say, human soul that's still evolving, right? So there's a difference between a soul, an evolving spark of God, moving towards being a light being, and a light being who incarnates consciously. And some of these movements to the earth field of reality have also been not so conscious due to the result of many wars in the system. Again, the history is written in the stars, and our stories and the roles we played for each other then when we were light beings, for those of us who are starborn, they carry much more meaning and importance for us than the lifetimes lived here on earth. But unfortunately, for those beings to remember, they have to go through their earth karma and realize that the beings they're with and entangled with in this life, and they don't feel any true resonance with, they're just there, they're just a part of their status quo reality, day-to-day life and routines, they're not their family. And my family of light has been constantly stressing out that this is the time, not just for the self and self-chosen ascension, but that their ascension is also, in a way, it's like a group. And these groups, even if it's a small group, maybe it's going to be for some just a union of two, for some it would be 3 or more. But these unions are important because when we're each individuals, we're very fragile. We're kind of still vulnerable in our aloneness and isolation. But when we come together, we expand our gifts, we accelerate each other. Like, for example, half a year ago, I had to let this chosen one and the work we were doing together go, because she had to go on her own journey, right? She had to undergo through her own initiations to really become her own sovereign, not just follow me, a sovereign as Aurea. And now she did that first stage of initiations, and all that was laid in her own Ascension Map, so we could find each other, and so we started cooperating and doing the work together as family. And there's such strong devotion and love there that you don't have that with others. You know, people come and go, but people who are always there and they stay, that's the family. But you have to know that in many ways darkness will still try to kind of segregate and separate us to not be so strong together. And a lot of those family members who are actually being told things that are depriving themselves of the true gift of being self-confident, they're always going to be in the energy of self-doubt when in these karmic relationships. So a lot of people don't know this, but only soul family relationships will constantly encourage you to keep on going towards the light being that you already are. And karmic relationships will not understand you, and however much you try and want that from them, and you want to be seen by them and accept that, it will work, because they're still a soul. They're an evolving, learning soul that has to go through their lessons, and they have their own challenges, and they have their own soulmates. and they have their own creations to unwind, and it's a totally different level. But during the dwelling of light beings through many lifetimes here on earth, we've developed, not me personally, right, because this is my only life, because I came to call out on others who've been here for a while, and also guide those who are also volunteer souls in this life to help them accelerate in their own awakening journey and illumined path. But there were bonds, you know, they were created also between these light beings and evolving souls. But now Spirit is saying these have reached their purpose of intention. If we want to now move it towards the acceleration of the soul family dynamic and soul family ascension, which I talked about last year for my birthday. Remember, I talked about being Aurea and soul family tree ascension. This is very important, okay? So this is one first thing. It's kind of the essence of today's message, but then there's kind of like the artistry and the details and the data that will be giving you throughout the process, okay? So the first thing my family wants to talk about today is what is truly an Elven realm. You know, a lot of people say the words Elven, and just a while ago they told me, because they said an Elven, they explained this to me years ago. They said Elven in our light language means full of life. So they said the Elven realm is the only true organic realm that has no artificial intelligence presence and interference. It's where me and my group and Auros are originally from, and because we are from there, we carry that immaculate template of life that is illumined, that is designed of the mother to keep procreating throughout this vastness of this universe. And you will better understand this neutrality of the way we create, because remember, my team has said to me during my transgression years and healing that and healing the pain, they said we don't work around the distortions, we don't try to fix them, we work around them, but then we move the energy, we always create the new, we always create anew. That's what Auros do. They don't go and fix problems, because that's an indefinite task. It's like darkness sets upon on something for you to handle, like a task, and it will be an endless task, like Sisyph, you know, like Sisyph's work pushing the rock, but then eventually the rock falls back down because it wasn't your creation. And we were never meant to fix the creation of darkness, like a lot of people still hold this belief, and it's very new agey getaway bug trying to record here, and people believe that we need to save this from the darkness and their creation, and you can't uncreate something that you didn't create yourself. That high intelligent forces, but although intelligent in the absence of love, that is the Christ, that is God, that is the love of life, that is the mother, still it's their creation, it's not yours. So my family light always say we're here to create anew. We haven't come to fix anything. And the fixing is a faulty notion that keeps you on this running and chasing program, the on and off, right? The chasing your own tail, right? So in Elven, they were first primordial realms, organic realms, before the distortions started taking place. Some of them were hijacked, but we still have a remnant of the core illumined realm called the Elven realms, the organic realm, in which no interference and presence dwells. So now what we're experiencing here on this plane of reality, you're going to see it through the picture as well. There is a co-creation of the new realms through the fallen grids or the holograms. So you have an influence in both. So your reality isn't as simply to be stated as, you know, I can just choose like this and it's going to be like that. You have to be aware that there's both influences. And I'm going to take you through the knowledge of this video to understand this better and how to get your body into the alignment of the Illumined timeline and Illumined experience that is organic, which is physical ascension. So they said to me, no wonder why we're always calling it organic ascension, because a lot of people talk about ascension, but not organic ascension, because there's also an ascension that's intellectual, and it's an ascension of the mind, which is basically like an insertion of your consciousness into a program, which is a part of this hologram AI grid that's been placed around our realm. So what they said to me, I'm going to show you in the picture, no world is ever lost or fallen. The Illumined template is always at the core. The essence is and can be translated into the next organic realm, which we're creating or co-creating, right? We talk about the new realm. And it's not, oh, 3D versus 5D. No, it's all essences, right? It's all aspects as one. It's unity realm. And it's one core that is then spreading out. So I made a drawing that looks like a circle with the womb inside with the dot, and then it exudes out, and there's like different realms, like circles around it. And when one is like falling, right, they would say, now here we've detected the anomalies of the fallen gridded realms. So they do calculations of the distortions to create an ascension map. That's what we were doing all these, not just here, right? They said to me, we needed also to learn the advanced skills and knowledge to do this, because it took them a while to do that as well. And I haven't really shared the galactic aspect of that, but after the Orion Wars, there was this consciousness of ours that moved to the space of the Illumined Arcturus Plains, which was the only realm where no war existed. It was a place they found, a place of peace. And this initiative of the pulsar understanding and Illumined light technology that's organic was developed. And from there, they were gathering more and more intelligence and building up until it was time. And it was also time to come into this distortion in this realm. So an Ascension Map was created, which was a set of regulations and Illumined life principles to move life elsewhere, as they said. So they're showing me now from this one that has a falling grid, there's a connection to another one that's like it's not a copy, it's not a replica, but it's an extraction of that which is organic, as I'm going to show you in the drawing. And it's an extraction of that, and it's a moving into another complete, full Illumined realm, ascended realm. So this one again, because the faulty one, the gridded one, has like gridded energy around it, and the true one has like your light can exude in, because source light needs to come in and out, as we cannot feel anymore in this infiltrated realm here. So what is called here, what this is called the Union of Worlds, and my mother made a mandala years ago called Union of Worlds. So it is best of both worlds merging. So what they do, as they said, the essence is being transferred into the new realm, and that one is the best of both worlds. So they said what happens in this realm determines the next. Remember when I shared this? So even when it comes to the most, something that you would say it's not important for you to experience as a human, in Illumined's case, in Illumined reality, it is. So the entire Ascension Map now has to be not just configured, but lived out. So for example, these higher aspects, these beings that are setting up the map and guiding the pinpointed aspects, then me here as Aurea's descendant, I have to navigate through it, and I have to make sure it's finalized and complete. They said creation, the entirety of this creation must be complete or completed. So the transfer of all ascending and ready beings into the new realm through the core seed, which is me, Aurea Dawn, and through me, which means that I here as the one who's come to call out the others through the essence field, which is not originating as an I, but is a completely cosmic Christ configuration descending through me. And this then I, through my, embodiment, determine the ascension for all, which is the group of the family tree dynamic. And it's being navigating through the realms, and this is why darkness doesn't want me also to ascend, and why it transgressed me with those electroshocks for all those years and all those things. And they say the illumined seed, the chosen one, is Polona, Aurea, and all of the other are the star family who will ascend through our illumined light prism. I talk about the Illumined Ascension prism of life on Patreon with the advanced content. I'm not going to go into it here, but this is what they've been sharing with me. So they said the organic component of this realm has been fully extracted through the Illumined work, which is the work of our group and other Illumined groups, so that the organic timeline continues beyond the continuation of this realm as a hologram. And you have to get this as a fact. This realm, the 3D of Earth, this 3D density, will continue as a hologram, because it had to be matched with the choices of the collective, and the collective has not built up enough resistance to say no. They went along with the plan, and we need to release and allow that, because there is free will still. What instead illumined beings we do, we extrapolate. That's what I always use that word. We extrapolate, and we take that into the next, because our life is a spiral. We don't see reality as linear and finite. We see life in creation as infinite. So this means the organic timeline will continue beyond the continuation of this realm as a hologram. You see, this realm continues as a hologram, but there's a spiraling off. At a specific point, we all spiral off that chart. There's an ascension map or plan, and there's an ascension map that's a complete physical liftoff, a final elevation step, which I talked about probably 2 videos ago. So they say, and all who have chosen this have done the work, or will do, or still doing the work, and experienced illumined rebirth and awakening will continue on in the organic ascension spiral reality, or the spiral realm, which means ascending through their own body portal. Our body is literally our ascension portal, and I teach this in my compilation of 7 sacred spiral teachings, the golden spiral teachings of the mother. That's why the physical body is the key. If your physical body hasn't experienced an illumined rebirth, no ascension. And I've been doing in my automatic channeling transmissions, I have a service called transmissions, right? Spirit transmissions. I've been doing I did quite a lot of Illumined rebirths on people, and many of them have shifted profoundly afterwards. So it's a combination of anchoring a being into the womb of the mother and rooting them out of their physical mother lineage and all the lineage and their karmic ties and families that are not their true soul family. So this ascension will happen through the light body and the illumined prism of life, and it looks like your consciousness will be gathered. That's how they're showing me, into the illumined prism of life. The teaching is available. I think that was the last 7 spiral we did on Patreon. And then out of that prism, your consciousness will again project into the next realm. So through your own light body, which was filled with illumined light, intelligence, and illumined light body work, through your physical body work. So you have to know your physical body is a replica of the illumined body, so a light body. So if you do physical body work, you're opening the gateways in your body to anchor your illumined light body. And once this is reached at the maximum level, you're actually ready to ascend. When the time comes, when the family also initiates, that consciousness will be gathered into illumined prism of life, your own ascension body portal, and then exuded back, like projected again into the new realm where we need to be, and that's where the family will come in. So this illumined prism of life is the gateway of ascension, right? The rainbow prism of life that the family is holding, and the family meaning all the illumined beings, they're holding that space. And there needs to be this, it's like an evacuation and a movement into the next. And the reason why it's being evacuated, because these beings, they don't need a hologram experience anymore. They're not choosing it, and they're sovereignly choosing that this is not what they want to create anymore. But it's not just enough that it's a wish, that it's a wishful thinking. You have to do the steps. Inner work, inner planes work, physical body work, and connection with your beloved essence and your soul family. So yes, this is what it would be. Their consciousness will project a new ascended body form configuration built on the illumined life principles. So when we do illumined rebirths, we set up the illumined protocols in the body. You have to know the crown, the heart, and the basically, I call it the tantrika. Some people call it the base, some people call it the template, doesn't matter. But this Trinity configuration is the 3 main body portals. They have to be intact, they have to be connected, and illumined light body quotient of light has to run through it. Otherwise, you're not receiving illumined guidance. You're getting scattered thoughts, and you're catching like bandwidths, but they're not moving through your own illumined light configuration in the body, right? So this configuration is built on illumined light principles. So when in 2019, I want to mention this again, at the end, right, when I started experiencing transgression and waking up from it and starting to do my body work, Aurea, right, as an Elohim, Elven aspect of the masculine counterpart, at the highest aspect of Aurea's counterpart, came to me and said, and it showed me actually through a vision, it was through a looking glass. He was looking through a looking glass, and he said, this is what's at stake, this is what's approaching. And it was all about this anomaly, this AI consciousness that was fast approaching, and the splitting of the timeline that was about to occur for Earth, trying to cause an incision of a bleed through. That's what transgression was. They tried to prevent this natural split, which is actually the union of worlds. So all this sorry, I got lost in my train of thought. Transgression was an act of evil, of darkness, that tried to ruin this divine plan, right? Of this movement of the energy pulling all that's illumined organic into the new realm experience. And they try to ruin and hijack our creation, which was pure and immaculate. It was of God. So they're trying to cause an incision, right? It's like a cut through and a bleed through, and the words that came were, there's a transgression, right? That was for me in November, I think in 2019. So that we could not fulfill our illumined legacy work for the new ascended realm. And so that we had to fight that interjection and incision first, and then all the rest of our work could be established. And this is what we're doing now. Now we're at the level I told you, that the beloved couplings and counterparts that have been chosen for Earth timeline of ascension to be gathered, and the Trinity and more of the families to come together. I'm going to show you the image, and then we're going to move on to the next topic of interferences. So this is the drawing, right? I don't know how much of it you can see, but you can see this dark hole of this mass of consciousness that's just like a dark hole. It just sucks in life force. It's like an endless hub of sucking life force, and it's been moving around the planet, so it caused this artificial grid construct. But at the same time, there's a spiral, the rainbow spiral of our cosmic light illumined family, that's been anchoring this golden light through these hub stations of the toroidal field of the organic light, sustenance, and essence of Earth as an illumined prism of life, Within, you can see the illumined prism of life for Earth, expressed as a Trinity or the threefold flame, the Mother, Father, and the Christ, the child, and the spiral, and being anchored as the Trinity of the spiral, which is the Trinity of ourself, or you can see the Trinity, the spiral. We've been doing the work, and through the spiral teachings, there's been 3 aspects of the spiral, right? The Mother, Father, and the child, and we had to learn through our body to anchor all of these. And so through these gateways, this now moves, and at the core, you can see the Earth at its core, it's still Earth, it's still intact. The consciousness of it, right? The consciousness we call Gaia. And this, right, the shackled reality, the enclosed, the indoctrinated, but also the monitored and manipulated reality that's a hologram, has been sending out in all these programs and beliefs that are, you know, when we say humans have patterns, but in this holographic reality, patterns quickly become programs, and they start taking over our life force vitality, our body aspects, and eventually our whole consciousness. And I know someone years ago I watched channeled how there's some complete universes that went completely AI, and you know, that's okay, that's a choice. But all those beings who are celestials and the guardians, they have to now choose wisely if they feel in themselves that they've always been sovereign, they've always been devoted to God. Because you know, the reason why darkness hijacks timelines and it hijacks the natural evolution and progression of souls is because if you prevent the souls from their evolving, which is a natural phenomena of divine life, how life, you know, moves and always expands and evolves. If you hijack that, it's basically the biggest sin. You're taking away a natural divine gift of soul evolution, so that eventually these souls will also become greater and greater beings, like potentials. Like we could have a multiplication of God. That's what it means, you know, to move the soul into their light being experience. And when the darkness prevents that, it means there's going to be less potential and possibility for light beings in this universe, which means that the scales will be tipped off, which means we're going to have less light beings and less illumined beings, and they would prevail and they would suck on the life force, so they would grow and expand and be bigger and like eat over and take over this universal sphere of reality. So this is the drawing. So you can see 2 realities. You can see this one's like blue and this one's like pink, and it's mother's love. And this one's hollow. That's why it's called a hologram, because it's hollow. And that's why these transgressor beings, I call them phantoms. They're like phantom creatures. So they need organic intelligence, as I've often explained, to suck it into their womb of this hollow reality, okay? Maybe I'm going to show a picture later on. But since we talk about this now, it's important that we go into, it's kind of a glare, that we move into all the AI interferences and challenges of inception, and the presence of the fallen earth timeline. It's important for people to know this, but also not just in general, yes, it exists, but you have to locate literally points when this energy makes an incision into your own body and when it cuts through. So when these lifetimes occurred on earth, there was a general loss of natural soul's integrity through dark inceptions of disrupting and distorting lifetimes, so that your lifetimes were less and less evolved, and even as a light being, you could no longer remember who you truly were. So you just kept falling for these tricks of the darkness, and the more you've lost your own integrity of your light being, the less you're capable to act out of your own sovereign integrity, right? Which is integrity of what we talked about in the previous video, integrity of the Christ, that is divine masculine Christ and divine feminine Christ, the integrity of truth, and the receptivity within divine love. So this synthetic reality, and I have to share some examples here, is kind of being put over this organic reality, right? Here's organic, and the synthetic is kind of put through, and anything that's synthetic can exist on its own, so it kind of needs a medium, right? And it kind of moves around it, and eventually it eats away at the life force that's sustaining the organic component. So it's put over very subtly, and how it's now starting to influence people's mind and bodies and cognition, right? The mind starts looping, you get more and more confused, scattered in your thoughts. That's basically not you. That's this intelligence interfering with you. And it's very important. That's why, you know, I always tell people, that's not your fear. That's not your ego. Ego is not a natural product of God. You say, that's my ego. You know, I'm allowed to have it because we're humans. We're supposed to be an ego. I'm not talking about the organic part of the personality that still makes us feel human feelings. That, or if that I could even call ego. It's not an ego. It's the child of God. But the ego is, as I've explained, through each distortion in each lifetime, more and more fallen energy, that eventually if you bypass yourself and your soul, your essence integrity to a specific degree, then darkness can eventually fully prevail and take over. That's why it was very hard to fight and struggle for some of these beings who were our own, but they were kind of giving their power and themselves away to the dark grid, losing their own integrity. So that's one of the first keys, is to take accountability for yourself, all the actions and all the deeds you've done, right? Thoughts, words, and deeds or actions, because not just that the darkness was there, but you yourself were giving your power away. So you have to take ownership and accountability and take responsibility for all that. That's the first step of becoming your own sovereign and liberating yourself. So for us to realize what's inorganic, we have to become fully organic in the body to feel the difference. For example, I have my celestial companion. She told me that she was away from Instagram for a while, and then suddenly she came back. She started seeing a specific group of people who were influencers in the spiritual realm. They all started eating meat, and they were kind of like argumenting, yeah, what are we expecting? We're just fooling ourselves. It's unnatural to not eat meat. That's just a part of earth. But you have to know something. Meat is blood. Meat is murder. Meat is eating a corpse. It's not like you can choose it. It's not a matter of judgment here. It is a matter that the light being, if you want to be light being again and go back to where you come from the pure organic state, you can't feed on death. You can't feed on programs of death. You can't be told what to eat. You're not being subtly programmed into that, because what we were noticing is how when the 5G structure started being really positioned, it's when people's thoughts, because there's a frequency-based manipulation that's very subtle, and suddenly at a group level, a mass of people shifted and showed those who are conscious, like, look, this is what's happening. It's like the thoughts already being taken over by intelligence that's not your own, and these were people probably who were vegan before. I have not personally experienced this. This was shared to me, and I'm just passing it on, but this is one example of what's taking place, how this inorganic intelligence is taking over. It's taking over your will to decide on your own. It's telling you, it's giving you voices and thoughts that are decreasing the level of self-confidence, and they're making you feel self-conscious about yourself, thinking you're doing wrong, you're choosing poorly, you're not being loving towards others, when in truth you're not being loving towards yourself, when you're not choosing yourself and your own body. For example, right, I gave you an example about eating meat. Light beings don't feast on other beings, because animals are also beings who are evolving. You don't take their experience away from them. And if they're produced in a lab and you think, well, they don't even have a soul essence or spark, they were lab produced, then why would you eat a lab produced food anyway? Because that's again a part of the hologram. You have to love yourself so much. You have to start seeing these things not as, oh, I'm being judged for eating meat. We have to go beyond that. You have to go beyond being a baby here. And you have to wake up and say, this is about my ascension. This isn't about who's right or who's wrong. This is about the fact of the matter of the truth. And us being forced into accepting these programs, like, for example, I've been talking about this transgender thing and homo things and all these things that were unnatural, the way they're created. Like, someone recently told me how there was a show about, I don't watch these things, but I was given information that there's someone who speaks and addresses the issue of people watching pornography and then turning homosexual after that, and how this is affecting our capacity to think, and not think through illumined cognition, but all these thought waves that are frequencies that are being alterations, right? And everyone who lives in a city or suburbia is now living next to a 5G tower. They're everywhere, guys. The only reason why I don't have it is like because I live in 1,000 meters of elevation here in the mountains, in the hills. The hills are alive with the sound of music. You know, that's my life. So patterns, again, Spirit wants to address. The unconscious patterns are becoming now fully operational running programs. It's one thing to say, well, that's my pattern. It's just how I am. You know, people start defending their patterns. If you keep on defending these patterns and say, well, it's just how I am, eventually this consciousness, if you're not in your own being integrity, the integrity of your light being, you will be run over. The program will run over you in your thoughts. It's going to kind of like extract the organic component out of you, and it will enforce something that the program believes it's more valid for you. So it's turning into running programs. So for example, my companion said to me, she said, I had this dream vision. I was walking through aspects of hologram and seeing that specific souls are just dark. And I was afraid of living in this realm. Like, how can it just be that some people who chosen dark, that's all they are, they're not going to return to God? And I said, let this go, because this is a thought for God. This is not a thought for a light being who now needs to sovereignly choose for their own. We're not supposed to deal with this, because the moment you start dealing with something so big as what God deals with, you are going to fall, because you will feel a heavy burden. And again, it's the way darkness will try to make you feel bad just by being here and being a human, and will want you to go out of your body. And that's why we're also not supposed to fear these programs, because fear kind of makes us accept them. And she said that she was witnessing an AI program running through her body, and it was giving her a mental projection of a thought that said the body isn't a safe space or a temple to be in. So she was kind of forced to always leave her body when it got uncomfortable, or, you know, that's why inner child healing that is emotional and physical, it's so important. It's your emotions and your physical experience. And if you don't heal the inner child, remember, the child is a gift to your master. The child will give your master a key, and then the master can operate through you. But without the healing the inner child, there's nothing, my dears, because there's a dangerous threat of this, and you can bypass it with the mind. So when this energy comes and tell you the body's not a safe space to be in, it's causing you to move into the mind. So even spiritual things, people are now perceiving very mentally, logically, and analytically. And I told you a lot of this is done through astrology and studying charts and this, instead of just studying your body by just being in it, not even studying, but just being in your body. Everything like that, that study is in nature, it's taking you away. And even if you've been doing that for a while, people who've been setting up their own knowledge framework so they could have a better understanding of what's taking place, now Spirit is saying, stop that now. It's not the time for this anymore. They keep telling me, go away from this. Be outdoors as much as you can. Get away from 5G towers. Even people's astral environments, which people don't know what an astral environment usually is, an environment in which you were born in, and if you stay in there, like people who live in an entire same apartment or same place all of their lives, they're in a specific enclosed astral reality. It's an astral implementation that it's always acting, helping them, making them act the same way, out of same patterns, same routines, and they can't get out. So that's why a person like that sometimes just needs to go somewhere alone, or go on a spirit retreat, or go on a quest, that they can feel how they are without the influence of this, not just toxic relationships or karmic entanglements, but also this entire astral surroundings, which is their astral place of residence. Dark hookings come in so many ways, my dears, and if we're not willing to recognize them, the work is not going to get done. There is no light being, however amazing and angelic they are in this creation realm, that can save you. We give and offer the gift of liberation, but no one can save you. That's a gift you will give to yourself, right? So yeah, when you move into the mind through these programs, you literally insert yourself into the AI grid, and it's like a Borg-like consciousness, you know, like a Borg. So 5G influences over people and their thought waves, and you know, these subtle influences are very real. Those of us who are very awake and alert, we can see it, we can detect it right away. So that's why I was spending all my years since 2013 outdoors, and I know what organic feels like. I know how it feels to be fully full of life. I can see people how they're constantly going through their thoughts and trying to control themselves, not receiving the love of the mother, not being helped because they're just so programmed not to. And it's difficult to watch. It's painful for me to see that. But we're still in those healing stages, and everyone, I'm telling you, everyone can heal this. So these 5G energetic, they are like energetic distortions that weaken the integrity of your energy field, and then these holograms, these programs are encoding around you these body overlays and inlays. Inlays are in the body, overlays are around the field. So I want to explain what the Borg-like state is. The Borg-like state means that there's always an interface, right, a medium between you and your body. So you can't fully directly correspond like to your body. You don't even have, when people say I have a relationship with my body, no, you don't have a relationship with your body or with yourself. You are yourself. You are your body. Not like you're identifying with your body, but you have to have your consciousness in your body. How can you shift and physically ascend if you're not fully with your consciousness in your body? If you're thinking in terms of duality, oh, I'm having a relationship with it, so I'm always approaching it from the outside, you already failed. So shift that. Try to shift and move into the difference and feel the difference in how it is just to be yourself, to be alive, to be life. When people say, I live a life, I have a life to live. No, you don't. You are life. Do you see the difference? Illumined beings, we are life. And life is a golden, illumined spiral. and it's positioned in the infinite womb of the mother. So the mother always holds us if we trust, right? So this interface between you and your body is navigating your experience and telling you life isn't safe. You can't trust yourself, and because you can't trust yourself, you can't trust this person. And if you have someone, someone can love you to death, and when you don't trust yourself and you don't receive that love, even if that's your soul family or your beloved, you're not going to receive it because you yourself have this encoding that it's not safe to trust. So there's always something in between. Or I talked about this inception of illumined unions, right? This consciousness that seeds itself in between the two lovers or two beloveds who are meant to be as counterparts in this life before we ascend. And it tries to take away the experience, and that's very faulty. That's evil. Because the beloved, you have to know, the beloved is the root, the core of all of life. So my beautiful, again, companion, she had a vision just last night. She shared with me, she said she saw the beloveds and how the beloved is the essence of everything that is organic, like plants, animals, all thrives from the beloved union. All is created from that union. That's why I told you everything is Aurea here in the body is Polona Aurea. I've been creating it through my own beloved union. So it's not just I have a life. You have to choose to be alive. You have to choose to be life and feel alive in the body. When you feel stagnancy, go do something, at least throw a ball or start kicking or, walking or whatever, kind of activities that stimulate your physicality. And when the darkness sends you pains, it wants you to stay stuck in the pain and wallow in it and die of it, instead of saying, no, I'm going to move my body, because the source of vitality comes when I move with the spiral of life, okay? So, third point. Next point, the work. Oh my God, I'm getting so overheated. Now it's warm, right? But I was trying to record all day yesterday, but there was no sun. And now today I'm in this, and I'm in a cocoon of sweat. So the third stage, the work, guys. A part of this work, again, is pulling yourself away from everything that's causing you to stay here, to not move into the core of the reality, the sphere of reality that is organic, that is moving you to your ascended organic timeline and the experience of life that is beloved, that is organic, that is of the mother, that is God. So the work on earth, especially for people who have karmic lifetimes, I haven't, so this is of course an easier step for me, but it's also not easy because I'm here for others, and I never came here to just have my ascension. I came to assist the ascension of many, so my ascension was never meant to be just my own. It's always meant to include those beings in the family. So no earth attachments and codependencies can be present, they said, if one wants to ascend, because this is also claiming the sovereignty over your own life. Because these karmic entanglements, and with people who have chosen the hologram, they've chosen this, you have to let them go. Because darkness does this, it helps you, it wants you to be hooked to people who are not choosing. And this is the last step, an attempt at how it will try with people who've been attached to people in their lives. Whether parents, whether spouses or boyfriends, girlfriends, I don't know, children, it doesn't matter. Freaking dog, I don't know. It's just, you cannot have, like already Jesus the Christ told us, you cannot have one earthly attachment. You can have an earth experience, and you always will until our last breath here in this realm. But we're going to take the beauty and take it to the next step. But this is where our beloveds are. This is the harmonious realm of the beloved union, that it's there. It's already there. It's being created. But what keeps us here, unfortunately not for me, but for people who have lifetimes who've been anchoring them into the rootedness with these relationships, these karmic or holographic projections, and they're a part of the duality game. They're keeping you thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't trust myself. And this is what karmic relationships do, because karmic relationships, they never see you for who you are. They don't understand what ascension is. They can't move with you into ascension because it's not, you can't force them. You also have to honor and respect their will. But the difference, but the difficulty in this lies that people who've been in this relationship for a long time, they've been rooted into this experience so long, they don't know how to uproot themselves, because it's all this societal pressure and attachments and what will people think and how do I move around physically. But the first step is claiming your sovereignty, because this is not like about emotions that you feel. This is about the fulfillment that awaits when you choose yourself, your body, your physical human experience, and your ascension. And no one of the karmic entanglements can be present, because what a lot of people think, well, until the last moment, I'm going to hold on to this and then I'm going to ascend. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my family says no, this is not what ascension is. You have to claim your sovereignty. This basically gives an echo out into the universe that you're free. And everyone is capable of doing that. And now there's this movement that sees the masculine is so wounded and they can do this. Oh, the masculine was so wounded. They can't leave the karmic. They can do this and that. We got to stop this scenario. We got to stop this, what is it, like a direction play. You got to write a new play, my dears. Stop thinking in those terms. Because if we as light beings think like that, then who will put the experience to the next level? If not us, right? So these attachments and codependencies cannot be present if one wants to ascend, because this is about the sovereignty over your own life, the sovereignty of body, crown, heart, and root, which is literally the Buddhi, Christos, and the Elohim, right, at the temple of the root, which means taking accountability for why you were in these relationships, whether it's jobs, family, societal groupings, whatever, friendships. And they don't have to be necessarily toxic. People are always saying, well, easy to leave a toxic relationship if it's abusive. But what if it's not? What if it's beautiful? It's just not a part of your ascension. It's not a part of your fulfillment, right? It's a catch, right? It's a tricky one. Because it's easy to leave an abusive relationship because it's so bad. You just want to leave. But you leave because it's so bad. But when you choose this, you choose it for yourself. Not because it has to be so bad that you're already in such deep suffer mode and you can't heal yourself because you're not in an environment and you're not in an unconditionally loving space, and a karmic energy that's entangled will never love you from the unconditional, pure, immaculate space that is God, okay? And I see a lot of people are still there. They're still holding on, hanging on. So this has to be your independent decision making, and it's impossible with also running AI intelligence in one's body via inception. So this was my example with someone, and until they had these AI controlling, I felt their ego, which was not even their ego, right, was an incepted ego, pulling me and pulling my strings. So I would have moments of lashing out and go like this. And I had to realize, wow, their ego triggers my ego. And my healing now lies in gaining the compassion for myself and being what for me Ascension is so unconditional that I don't even react. Not just that I myself am not in the ego space anymore. Obviously, I've done my transgression work. Like, it ended for me in March. That's when I had my final breakthrough. But even since, it hasn't ended when it comes to my family members and the ones that I love. It can still trigger me, and I have to be now the one on top, pulling the strings out and not allowing the strings of the puppeteer to guide me and make me like clash out or like be like, you know, because the ego that's dark can trigger a lot of responses within us. And for me, what they've told me, they said, for you, it's not anymore like you have these electric energies or these discharges within you, but the body has a memory. So body has a memory membrane that each time there's a recreation of that experience, the body kind of reacts. So in my last experience like this, I had to really set myself boundaries and taken aback so I could finally come into this space, which is utter pure love, devotional, immaculate, and unconditional, which is not person to person love, but a light being to a light being. It's not an easy space to walk into, my beloveds, but I know I'm walking into this space now as I speak, and I will talk about the beloved experience more on Patreon. I'm really hot, so I have to continue. So the thing about Ascension, it's a spiral, right? It wants to widen your experience of life. It wants you to feel what life is again, because for a lot of people who are held in these karmic entanglements, they didn't even feel alive anymore. There was no passion, no spark, no magic, because it's not about the other person or their conditions, but their own spark could not proliferate life in these conditions that are stalemate. So it's like, if the soil is bad, no matter what you plant in it, the soil is bad, it's not going to produce result for you. You're not going to bear any fruit. So these karmic attachments or ties via relationships, jobs, and places must fully be cleared and let go of. There is no ascension through ties that bind. The only true organic realm mantra for us to shift, and this is what makes you easy in your choices. Like when I made that final decision, I'm ascending, you know, I don't know when, how, or where, but I made the decision. All the burdens that I had in the physical, my house and this, and how would it look like for me, instantly dropped away. So when you feel like, how will this look like if I finally step on this path fully, simply say a mantra. I'm ascending anyway. I'm leaving that old. I'm leaving the hologram. In this space, when you leave it as a light being, energetically and physically with your body, this problem will not exist. So the problem with people is they're trying to solve something mentally. They're trying to solve a problem with the same consciousness that dwells in the problem. So you have to expand your consciousness. You have to move into the spiral and let the spiral expand you when you can have a new epiphany and revelation, right? I'm ascending anyway. I'm leaving the hologram anyway. So it's the only thing for me, for example, that truly aligns me with the truth and instantly eliminates survival fears, attachments to ideas, people, self-limitation, and dark imposed thoughts. The next step, I'm going to try to hurry through because there's still a lot, is learning. A lot of people literally have to learn this. And I always say, sorry about the bike, the best space to do that, especially if you're in a relationships or entanglements, is to be alone. It's to allow yourself at least a while to really be alone. Some people I know, they've never been alone, not even for a week. They've never really been alone. How can you feel yourself? You've never been alone. I mean, I'm always alone, but when I, for example, went to the Alps for a week, or I just went with my tent or something, I really was unplugging for everything. I just felt myself, and it felt so good because you're in the yumminess of your presence. You're feeling the juice of life that is you. No one's like you. And so it's kind of the learning and feeling how it is to be held again by the mother as life. Because a lot of times we're trying to control our reality. I need to do this, because we don't trust. Life holds us, mother holds us. Forget about what you think it will happen or how it should happen. Let yourself feel for maybe once for the first time in your life for some people. We're talking about feelings here, not emotions. Emotions are realm of the human. That is the lesser human, the 3D human. Feelings are higher consciousness generated. And love is this higher feeling, and it's an intelligence of unconditionality, of divine creatrix and creativity that is life. So being held by the mother as life is how the dark ones, of course, they don't want us to be in this space and want us to feel this, because they also incept and prevent unions of counterparts by instilling fear, societal pressure, lack of confidence, and people saying things like, oh, this isn't realistic, I can't be in this union, this is impossible. It's already a set predetermined trap, like a trap you set up for yourself. It's a self imprisonment or self-prophecy that's a negative one. So there needs to be return to true divine love in the body for every cell in the living creatrix of the body, which is now, you need to see your body as a strong sovereign body. You can't see your body as a poor, wounded, little, weak one. No, you have to see your body as strong and sovereign, even when there's still inceptions with it and these points, right? Because the lack of integrity occurs when you don't. And it was building through lifetimes for some people, so this caused the fallen energies to penetrate deeper and deeper into one's field or etheric blueprint. And until a full takeover is possible for the dark, right? The hologram and Lucifer, here I saw her as a giant Borg. And this was like a life-sucking Borg, just like sucking life force into her mechanic composure. Like, it wasn't just an angel or a fallen angel, like a fallen creation angel, but she was also a mechanical AI fallen angel, right? So this is what eventually you drop into if you don't fix the integrity, not fix, but you don't return to the integrity of your beingness, your energetic field, that is how you create your physical body and the creation, which is your physical body. Spirit, essence, and form. So the integrity of the body has to be reclaimed fully on all levels. Spirit, the energy of your being, or beings, right? Your essence and the physical. And with this alignment comes something I've talked about a lot last year when I was myself moving through this experience with the detox and allowing every cell of the body to purge, because your cell eventually, right, has to also resonate with this, which is here at the core. The trinity of the spiral, the trinity of the flame, the golden spiral, and both gateways, which is also how your ascended portal of the body looks like. The Christ already said many times, the alignment has to be of thoughts, words, and deeds or actions. And when you step into a baptized essence, which is the purified self, you will see that it's actually very easy to also engage in activities that allow you to receive love this way as well, like cleansing, purification, purging, also parasites in the body, all these things, because I talked about it in the past a lot, how darkness hooks through parasites in the body. By losing body's integrity in your field, the physical body loses its integrity. It doesn't have to be difficult. A lot of us have done a lot of steps here in the work, and many who are now undergoing this will not have to have it so hard, okay? So what is an Illumined rebirth now? We need to talk about this. I've done it many times in the sessions, and what it looks like. It's actually unhooking from what I already explained before, from the womb of the physical birth mother and ancestry, which basically makes you to create through their creations. You're literally creating through their thoughts and expectations of you. And it's pretty sad, actually, if people don't wake up to this. And creating your life reality now via their energy imprints, instead being just plugged into your own core self. So what we do is we cord now the being with the golden spiral into the hub of life as illumined intelligence, or the golden spiral that comes from the mother's golden womb of life, which is my work, work of Aurea and the team through the sessions we do. I've done it also now recently physically. It was very powerful. It can be long, so the body needs time to integrate. That's also receiving love. But the last step they want to mention here with this, and it's not like you need to do first and then you're entitled to walk into union or soul family. No, the thing is, it's all happening in parallel at once, but you have to allow yourself, right? Every one of us has to see that's all intertwined. It's all entwined. It's not like we have to be perfect and then we can have the union, or we have to be fully healed and then no, because a part of our healing happens through interactions with each other as beloveds and our family counterparts. So they stressed out how important it is. We've talked about it in the beginning, the return to the soul as not the soul, but the essence of our light being family. And why? Because when we're with our soul family, we're going to feel nothing but upliftment and trust, and they're going to encourage us and give us the gift of healing, especially if they've done it themselves already. And the karmic ones will constantly pull us down, and we're always going to be in the space of, I need to set boundaries, I need to act this way, I need to filter myself, I can't express, should I, can I? And it's eventually, you can't fix that. It's always going to be like this, and that's a space of constant entanglement. Eventually you're going to have to say, this served a purpose. I've been here on earth a long time. I've made my dues. Now it's time for me to move on. And this actually is an act that can only be done from each divine feminine and masculine on their own. And it has to be not for someone else, but it has to be an act of utter love for yourself. And walking and stepping on the golden path of the Christ, which is basically your own illumined beingness. And the last step I wrote here is the prevention of soul's evolution. Oh, we talked about this somewhere in between. To prevent the birthing of illumined light beings, for there to not be as many in the universe, that the scales of balance will be uneven and unjust, which is the greatest sin of life, to prevent the evolution of souls. Yeah, we've talked about this. And that's why also at the same level, they don't want us, who are light beings, to come together as one family. But you know where this family is, because you feel a strong energetic connection and a pull and magnetic resonance. It's always there, no matter what, good or bad, but it's always there. And it's a space of constant compassionate support and upliftment, not sacrificing yourself, right, for something that does not see the real value in you. And for many people in these relationships, they don't realize that the people who they're with, that they're karmic, they love them only if they're like this, if they stay like this. The moment they start changing their people and start responding to them, because they don't love their highest potential, they don't understand that potential yet. They're not from that space. So how can they understand it? They have to themselves, on their own evolution, eventually get to that space. You can't understand something you're not yourself. You have to know that there's understanding does not come from a mental cognition. It comes from your experience. And someone recently said to me, oh, I can't know this for you because I don't have an experience with this. But the experience was right there in front of them. It's like, I'm the experience. Hello. You know, and sometimes people don't see that it's just right there, and it's so simple. You want the experience, there it is. But you're like, no, 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 and then you won't have it, and then you'll say, I didn't have it. Well, it was right there. And the AI inceptions are trying to constantly prevent you to notice the most simple things. They want you to think in complex terms. How do I solve this? And they even make these karmic ties as something so difficult, when in the end you just sit down and say, well, that's not me anymore. And remember, the highest counterpart, Aurea, said to me last year, it's not about, oh, letting go and constantly going back. It's just keep on moving forward. And eventually, in your movement forward to the spiral of life, you will feel, aha, these things are, because I'm moving, I feel like there's something holding me back. And if I want to keep on moving, I have to cut the cords of these ties, or I'm stopped. And it's not that you're doing something wrong, but there's something you have to figure out when you're moving on the golden spiral of life. If there's something or a place where you stop and you're trying to do inner spiritual work and nothing works, that's what people do, and I see it. They set themselves up for a fall. And it's something very simple. They can't move. Spirit will not allow you. They won't give you more guidance or more insight until you make the step that they want you to. And for many of the people now, they need to cut the cords with this, what holds them back. And they won't be expanding further, and they want it so badly. You know, someone said to me, I want this connection. I said, it won't come before you do the physical, practical steps of what still anchors you in the old, because you have to keep on moving your anchor, right? And this was the last channeling I actually did today. It was an interaction between the masculine and feminine creation. And I wrote, so when I move, they move. When I go into my spiral of creation, it helps them to move as well. There are times to hold the space for someone, and especially for your beloved, and a time to move the energy, to keep on moving the anchor from where the energy used to be to where the energy now needs to be next for its ultimate fulfillment. And this is what divine feminines, as I said, the feminine creatrix, she is the womb of life. She is the mother. She is the creatrix, as I am as well. And this is the prism of life design that's called the queen. The queen is not a title. From the organic realm, the queen is a light template that you hold. It's a positioning, right? It's not a titlement like a role, no. But it's the configuration you hold within you. And from this configuration, you're able to give birth to others as well, to enable them to more easily, softly, with grace, move through their transition and ascension. So the last step I want to say, right, about ascension, they wanted to mention this because people are still wondering, and I made a video about that, whether it's a union event, whether it's a group, whether each one will go on their own, and when and how. Actually, Master Lamayan came through, a light being, and he said, on earth, there's no collective right now. Where we are, right, the Illumined ones, there is what we call the collective, the true collective, right, the companionship, the union. And he said that's why everyone will ascend in their own time and space when they're fully ready. It's not like you have to wait for someone. But in specific examples, when two beloveds are ready and open to go and ascend with each other, or they will be a group, this will be specifically unique and different for each individual. Like, it's not like we're going to categorize it now, right, or categorize it. But it's like he said, how it will look like for the family tree. It's like each one already has their own ascension map. But the key is to get to your own ascension map. So I did a session with my beloved angelic one, and we were doing this work. And the mother was starting to channel. And the mother said to me that it's time now that I joyfully start asking questions about my own ascension, like how it would look like as a child, approach it with joy, maybe start painting it. And I had this idea, I need to paint my ascension map on a big piece of paper, not like these mini ones I do. And it's just like from the space where you're now, what can be the guidance for you to take the next step? And remember the mantra, I'm always moving forward in the golden spiral of life. I am the Christ, and know your name. I've given the names to many of my family, like given them, Aurea has been speaking their own illumined names of their essence, but that's just for my very close of kin. I don't just receive this, so people think that I do, but I don't. And it's always been a spontaneous process for me. I've never been asking, I just received. So the family tree dynamic of ascension is still a very mystical process, even to me, but they said that it's going to look very much so that each one of us will be fulfilled. And that we made these agreements with each other that we will make our ascension not just vertically static, but it will be a joyful experience. And when now at this stage where we are, like for example for me, we really have to let that go. So I know that I myself, I'm stepping into the part of my life, a cycle of creation that I'm now just about starting to create is very unknown. It's mystical. It's kind of dark in that aspect, not dark as darkness is, but dark in meaning like the unknown aspect before it moves through the light of the sun that now pulls the energy outward. So it's holding the space for it, and then you erupt within that light. And this is where I'm now. My family companion, my angel self, she said to me, you have to do a golden ascension journal, but just for you. And I had this feeling, yeah, because what I was doing now for so many years was for the collective, was for others. And I feel this last few months here now that I really envision through this summer, I feel it just has to be a chapter for me. I will share aspects and chapters of it on Patreon, of course. I don't know what other videos are to follow next, if any, but I will do a union update. There's lots that came through, especially through difficult and yet so beautiful experience I recently had. So there's much to share. I'll make that, but I want to show you this picture yet again. And zoom in and then zoom out for a radical effect. For a dramatic effect. So actually there's this song that for me, I felt it as Ascension song, and it's the song is by Beach House and it's called Over and Over. And this song, it has pulsar elements to it. the middle of the song. And I could literally feel Aureus as pulsars like coming, and I saw us ascending at the last, like they gave me a preview, a premonition of our ascension. And we were pulsating like these amazing lights, and we were just moving with creation. We were so elevated. We were so happy with what we fulfilled here, and we were like in this highly elevated state, and that sort of moved us into the new creation experience, and we just moved along. We were pulsating along the spiral, and it was just beautiful. The configuration of when, with whom, who, like time-wise, I was not shown, but that's beautiful mystery of life, that is God, that is the mother, and she wants us to feel every step of the way now that she holds us, and that we will be provided for in every way. But please don't hold back, my loves. Do the work. We are nearing the time when kind of need to be spanked, all of us. Sometimes, you know, there's people who in their life they needed more pushes to get going, but sometimes you also need to know that you have to push yourself too. There's not going to be others always pushing you, because you also vow to yourself that you will make that final push. So for everyone it's like that, and we just have to find our own way. I have these beautiful, like I said, stones here, painted elven stones. I just want to, like last time we did Aurea. Let me see, well this one, they're so dirty now. This one is called Wisdom. This one's called Wisdom. So God, as the mother, give me the wisdom to discern from what love is, what is truth, when I receive it through love as the truth, love of the beloveds that is ultimate, through which all the organic creation in this reality and beyond is designed as an illumined blueprint of life. And also give me the wisdom to see the difference, to tell the difference of that which is not, which is mechanical, robotic, artificial, inseminated, impregnated through inception, that's transgressed and distorted and manipulative, and trying to prevent my own ascension experience, and I will not allow it. God, grant me the power that I will not allow it. And let me feel my longing again. Let me feel the longing that's in my heart, that navigates me forward, that tells me, this is my heart desire, this is my true love, this is my ascension experience. And without a doubt, like a fierce lion or a lioness or a panther or a puma, and I would jump into it. Because, like I said, the words, the final battle. And that also means that the final attainment is right there, right in front of us. But we have to go a little deeper, push a little harder, and not take life for granted. Because the worst thing you can do is take life for granted, my loves. The worst thing you can do. Anyway, I hope this was enough. I'm sure it was for me. I'm pretty tired now. I still have to mow the entire lawn, and it's not little, it's a lot. But I like to get physical because it stimulates my juices for life, keeps me going, and until I'm here, I'm gonna get going. I'm always going. I'm always in the go. Keep on moving, keep on creating, keep on accelerating towards the organic ascension timeline. That means accelerate within your body. Bring everything into your body, and always spiral downwards when your thoughts are too intense and stagnant and looping, and you're like, and you get confused, and you get like this. Notice your face when it cringes like this. It means you're an ego. You're not in your joy. Pull the energy, pull the golden spiral down into your template, into your tantric region, and just let it expand from there onwards. And then slowly, when you feel it rising and cultivating within you, rise it back upwards and elevate yourself. That was that for today. As always, so much love is empowered. Those of you on Patreon, I'll see you with more videos. We're gonna have a gloomy, rainy weekend, so I'll be recording until we meet again very soon. I love you all very much. I wish you a beautiful ascension experience. To again, not to take life for granted, but to feel the beauty of life, like in every pulse in your cell. Bring every pulse of life into your cell and welcome yourself back home. Thank you, my beloveds. I'll be seeing you when I do. Bye for now. Bye.
Welcome into